Good day, friends. It's Crypto Kraut, and today we're going to have a look at the Vfat AVAX farm. To get there, we want to launch the app. We are going to navigate to AVAX, and we want to open the Vfat farm. Now, this is a rather interesting one, just because this is splitting up into a lot of farms. So we'll have a look on how this works in detail now. So we can tell that it is starting here at Donkey. This is where you put your funds, and 20% of your AVAX, which is just rubbed AVAX, that will go into the AVAX farm. 20% is going to AVAX and Elk. 20% is going to AVAX and Snob. We've got 20% going to USDT and Joe. And then we've got 20% going into AVAX and Xava. Now, this should be interesting because there is just so many moving variables in here. So what is happening here is your AVAX is sold for ELE, it is sold for Elk, it is sold for Snob, it is sold for USDT and Joe, and it is sold for Xava. So here in this link of the tree, 10% of your initial funds is basically converted into ELE. Same thing here with Elk. We've got the same thing with Snob. Now, in this farm here, your AVAX is being sold off into USDT and Joe. So your AVAX is gone completely here in this pair. And then we've got AVAX and Xava. So again, 10% of your total funds are being sold for Xava. In the meanwhile, you are of course earning rewards from 11 Finance in the form of their own token. This is true for all the pairs in here. These rewards are then sold off again for AVAX, which is then taking the same route again. Let's have a look at the fee structure. We can see that there is a swap-in fee, which is applied by the protocol, in this case 11 Finance. We've got a swap-out fee, and we've got exit fees. So to be more precise, swap in and swap out is done by the automated market maker that is used to acquire these currencies. My best guess is that it is PancakeSwap. So that's where swap in and swap out fees go. And then we've got exit fees. Those are very likely claimed by 11 Finance. And then, of course, we've got the 10% performance fee, of which 5% goes to the farmer and 5% goes to the Donkey platform. Now, the interesting question, of course, is how do you make money in this farm? And this is, of course, a little bit more complicated, as we can already tell by the amount of images in this graphic here. So, because we are starting out with AVAX, ideally, we would want AVAX to go down in price versus all the other assets that it is paired against. So, for example, ELE and AVAX, Elk, Snob, and Xava. If you're putting in AVAX and ELE at a 50-50 ratio, that means that if ELE is going up, you will end up with more AVAX in that pair. And the other way around, if AVAX is appreciating against ELE, you will end up with less AVAX in your pair. So that is something to keep in mind. You're making money in this pair, so 1/5 of the total equation. You're making money here if ELE is appreciating against AVAX. The same thing is happening in this pair. You're making money if AVAX, well, to be more precise, you're making more AVAX. If AVAX is depreciating versus Elk, and the other way around, you're making more AVAX if Elk is rising against AVAX. To put this in perspective, if you're measuring your profits in dollar, then this does not really apply, because you could have less AVAX in the end, but they could be worth more money in terms of dollars. So, but in this case, we're gouging the profit here in AVAX. So the same thing here is of course true for this pair. You're making money, you're making more AVAX. if AVAX depreciates against SNOP, you're making AVAX if SNOP appreciates against AVAX. Now this pair here is a little bit different than the others. As mentioned before, you're making a gain if AVAX is depreciating against all the other assets here. That is just as much true, but in this case for two assets. So you're making more AVAX if it is depreciating against USDT and against Joe. So let me explain how that works. If you're pulling out your funds from this pool, what Donkey is doing is they're selling off your USDT for AVAX. So they're buying AVAX with US dollar. So it makes sense that you want AVAX to be low versus the dollar, so that you get more AVAX. And when you're closing your position here, they are also selling your Joe for AVAX. So of course you want Joe to be high and AVAX to be low, because that means that you will end up with more AVAX. Again, in dollar terms, this can look completely different. You could have less AVAX and more dollar, or the other way around. But this is how it works in this pair. So you would want two currencies to go up against AVAX. Unlike the other ones where you just have one currency that you would want to appreciate against AVAX. So the same thing is the case here. You have AVAX and XAVA in the liquidity pair, and you would want AVAX to depreciate against XAVA. That will net you more AVAX. Lots of AVAX XAVA involved here. I hope I didn't mess it up, but yeah, you should get the idea. To conclude, this farm has a lot of risk involved in the department of impermanent loss or impermanent gain. You're making 261% APY, that is not taking into account any impermanent loss or impermanent gain. But ideally, you would want to receive the 261% APY on top of making gains on, well, impermanent gains. So this is a rather complicated farm for that matter. There is a lot of variables involved that will determine your impermanent loss or impermanent gains. So the next thing we want to talk about is the platform security of 11 Finance. All right, we are now looking at the certic page for 11 Finance. So this is the only auditor that they have, and they have already been hacked once. I'm not aware if that happened during, while they were audited already, or before they had an audit. I can't tell that. You can research that on your own easily if you want to. So we can see that they have, well, one audit. They have the certic shield inactive. For all that's worth, I'm somewhat doubtful really about the value of it. But maybe something more interesting to give us an idea is that the market cap of 11 Finance is absolutely abysmal. In the last 7 days, it has lost 38.5%. So yeah, there could be a lot of reasons for it, but it is surely not a good sign, and it can relate to security. So if the developers have abandoned this project or are not dedicating as much time to it anymore, this could be one of the reasons why the market cap is decreasing, or it could be the result of the market cap decreasing. So we don't know that, but yeah, that's just one audit. They have been hacked once. You can look at the audit in more detail. I can't really go over it and elaborate a lot. I don't really give a damn about audits, to be honest. Especially certic audits are somewhat of a meme, but for the sake of doing our due diligence, of course, we're going to have a look at it. So yeah, this is the end of the video. I hope you found it helpful. If there is anything that I've missed out or that needs further explanation, you can let me know down in the comments. Also, you'll find me hanging around in the Donkey chat and also my own Telegram group. There's a link to it attached in the description. So that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.